So yeah, this is me. I'm Greg Hill. I'm a professional skier, adventurer, everything like that. But my passion started back in Quebec. I was just a little boy growing up with tons of snow, and we skipped school a lot to go skiing, and it just the mountains became a passion. I'm one of six, seven. Jesse would for sure. There's lots of us. Um, but growing up, I'm the youngest guy on the left there. Graham's the guy with the glasses, and Adrian, Jeremy, and Christy and Natalie. Like we were a fun crew, and then Jesse joined us later on. But as the younger brother with an older brother 5 years older than him, you tend to be influenced by them. Young impressionable boy, and then there's your bro. And um, as it is, he set the trend. He did everything really well, and as a brother, you're like, well, God, what am I gonna do if he's done all those things so well? Like, what can I do? And luckily, I found some mountains, and had turned out I had a lot of energy because it went down my own path and kind of set my own footprints. And so yeah, I started to try to kind of set myself apart in the ski world because I didn't want to just be a ski bum. I wanted to be somebody who lived life and pushed limits. And I started kind of just seeing what my potential was in a day. I did 50,000 feet up and down in a day, which was pretty amazing. And then slowly just kind of focused on these little watches and these little accomplishments to make myself feel like I was living life and not just being a ski bum. For years, I trained up, and I climbed and skied 2 million feet. And this is what a lot of people know me for this endless endurance and optimism. And, it was an incredible year, but the whole time that I was doing that challenge, I took flights to South America with my family. We flew around to the States to go skiing. Also, I had a big, large F-350, and quite often I'd be driving solo for an hour and a half to go ski and enjoy the mountains. And there was this sort of imbalance where I was getting all this inspiration from nature, yet I was also killing it on the other hand. And it was always in there percolating because of Graham, really, because while I was climbing and skiing my 2 million feet, he came out with this cool TED talk, which I highly suggest you look at, Why I'm a Weekday Vegetarian. And it was really good. And at the time, I was not ready for it. I was focusing on my vertical, my family and everything. And I remember when Graham would be over for Christmas or what have you, and it'd be a weekday, and we'd make him eat meat. And it was this kind of like, hey, we got him. But slowly that idea kind of grew on me, and it really starts to make sense later on in my life when I was ready. But at this point, I wasn't ready for it. For me, one of the biggest things that happened was this. This was in Pakistan. I made a poor decision and basically got swept away by this avalanche 20,000 feet up in the Himalayas. And luckily, through luck, myself, I don't know what, but I survived, which was fantastic. Because after that, in the 6-9 months, year and a half healing, I really thought a lot about myself. I kind of looked at myself and I was like, who or what am I? Like, if Greg Hill's always been about all this adventure, what else is there in his life that I could be remembered by better, or that I could do better, that would just, I don't know, leave a better impression on the world? And it did. It took me quite a while to heal from it, but quite a while to really figure out what was important to me. And what I realized is that looking back at what I'd seen in my life is that glaciers were melting all around me. And 20 years in Revelstoke, and this was happening all summer long. And honestly, I wish glaciers made a screaming noise or something, because maybe we'd be better, but they're so quiet, and it just drip, 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 and slowly they just disappear. Here's like the last time I'd been to the Athabasca Glacier, I was 2 meters up on a glacier. And then I came back this was 2018, 12 years later, and boom, it's down to earth. So I always like this little cartoon, because Daddy, what did you do in the climate war? Like, I want to know that in the future, I'll look back and say, okay, I did as much as I could, or I did the best I could. Because instead of just sitting back, if you sit back, you're part of the problem, but I'm trying to become part of the solution. And, but one of the things that was huge is POW Canada. I really realized that, yes, I'm an individual and I can do my little changes, but we need to empower more people. And POW's been awesome. I've really enjoyed the journey with them, because it really is. My passion is the mountains. So turn it into a purpose and helping others along the way is really exciting, which is what this 12 months is all about. It's just about you guys and me doing these little changes. Some of them will work, some of them won't, but taking these steps to just trying to be better, and not worrying that we're not perfect. Because like I said, it's all about progress. We all want this change but we have to be that change. So I'm going to pass it off to my bro, and he's going to talk about how we can be that change that we want to see and how important it is.
My name is Graham Hill. I'm Greg Hill's brother. In 2004, I started one of the earliest green blogs, which had a whole new approach to environmentalism. We were very quickly the biggest green blog or green site period on the web, and held on to that for a number of years until I sold it to Discovery. And then I did Small Living via Life Edited and gave a few TED Talks on that. Did some cool transforming apartments. My new project is called the CARBONAUTS. It's at thecarbonauts.com. Basically, if you listen to any of our institutions and the vast majority of our scientists, what is clear is that we are losing the fight against climate change in a really bad way. There's been a big movement for decades, but it is not happening. We are losing. The good thing is that it isn't over. We have amazing technologies and solutions, and we just need to get the personal and political will to make this happen, which is entirely possible. There's a beautiful green world to be had, and I want to help you guys take some steps toward it so you can influence others. One thing that has gone well is in the last couple decades is that awareness has grown and grown. It's really higher than ever, which is terrific. The problem with awareness is it doesn't get us there. It just doesn't. The very cool thing is that many of us can literally be carbon positive when you include offsets. And so that is very positive, and that's good. Okay, so let's get into it. For context, probably 30 years ago, most people didn't know about calories. Now people generally have a sense. The same idea with carbon tons of emissions. So the average American or North American, I think Canadians are probably a little less, but it's about 18 tons per year. European, a lot less at 8. Indian at 3, so a lot less. The goal that we're likely trying to head, very difficult, is probably 2 or 3 tons per person. So a lot far away from where we are at. The big 5, one of the biggest travesties of the environmental movement of the last number of decades has been that most people associate being green with recycling. And while we probably want to recycle in most cases, it's a really small part of the picture. And so this guy, Peter Kalmus, talks about this blogger who's on a flight to Asia, talking about how they are proud that they are refusing the water bottles that they're serving. And he says, that's great, do that, bring your own bottle, but also you want to recognize the fact that your flight to Asia return is the equivalent of 100,000 water bottles. So the first of 5 is renewable energy. So you want to switch your home energy to renewable energy. So at its most basic, the 3 horsemen of the apocalypse are gas, oil, and coals. Often renewable energy or home energy is about 1/3 of your opportunities for reduction, so it's a really big one. It's in the 5 to 15 tons per household, just to give you an idea. It generally will cost you a little something, or if you can do rooftop solar, it actually can be a terrific investment. You want to drive electric. Many of us drive cars. If we can avoid cars, great. It's not very easy to do in many places. And basically, fuel, gas or diesel, emits really significant greenhouse gases. So you want to think about what you eat specifically. So largely moving away from beef, lamb, dairy, etc. You also want to think about how much you waste. The average household wastes about $160 of food a month. And so every time you throw something out, it means you've doubled its footprint. So you want to reduce wastage as much as possible. And then of course, you're going to still have some waste, and you're going to have all your peels and offcuts. And so you want to compost the rest. And so there are a ton of composting options. It's actually quite fun. You can even do it inside an apartment with vermiculture or bokashi. There are a few different options. But yeah, look it up. Composting is a great thing to do. Worms are really fun. I do that, but regular is fine too. And the beautiful thing about this is it makes a really valuable fertilizer, which we really need. Fourth out of the big five is flying. Flying is a tricky one. This is mostly about getting conscious. So it is huge. It's often when we do our pods, the CARBONAUTS, it's often the biggest thing. And so it can be easily in the 10 plus tons. So it's really big. Distance really matters. Okay, so I live in Venice in LA. For me, if I could take one trip to Bali return or 14 trips to Baja return. And so I really want to be conscious about the decisions I make and really understand that if I'm going to Southeast Asia or something, I better go for a while and take advantage of it because it is a lot of carbon. One little tip is there's a site called skyscanner.com. If you do a search and then once your search is done, click on the left-hand side. It'll show you various green options. Sometimes they're way better than others. And so that's a way to sort of figure out a good green flight because it does matter. Some flights have more people in them and higher loads and have newer planes and are more efficient. And so it can actually make a difference. One thing you definitely want to do is try to fly direct as often as possible. That's definitely less emissions, and fly economy because you take up less space. And so if you're in business or first class, then your footprint ends up being many times higher. Finally, the fifth of the big five is buying offsets. So the net of this is it's really hard to get to zero living in modern society. So our recommendations on offsets are to buy only third-party certified. There are a few different certification groups, and that's really a great way to ensure that you're getting quality stuff. Unfortunately, some that are questionable in terms of types of projects, planting trees can be questionable, and supporting renewable energy can also be questionable for a number of different reasons, which I can't get into right now. Projects that we think are great, but maybe not as sexy, methane capture from landfills, refrigerant destruction, fertilizer management, and urban forestry. Those are a bunch. So let's summarize. You want to focus on the big five: renewable energy, electric vehicles, plant-rich diet, reducing food waste and composting. You want to reduce and optimize your flying, and you want to buy offsets for the rest. We want to encourage you to take action, to live it, to be that change, and then tactfully influence others. You can gently influence someone else to make change. That really accrues to you, in my opinion. If you enjoyed what we've done here, take notes. I will try to figure out how to make sure you guys can get access to this presentation. So please run with it. If you feel like you need more, please join our program. It's a 6-week program. It's a sliding scale cost, and if you can't afford it, you can also do it for free. So just check it out at thecarbonauts.com. We have one running right now and some coming up, and we make it easy. So we're here to help. And this is simple. We've civil rights, women's rights. We've come a fair way over the years. This couldn't be clearer. All our institutions are saying it, all our scientists, we know what way this is headed. You want to be on the right side of history. And so please join us and do it for us. Like climate change is gonna affect us, and our actions are gonna affect us. They're also gonna affect the next generation. And so we wanna be able to look them in the eye and be proud for what we did. And so, yeah. You guys are special people taking time out of your schedule to be here, to think about this stuff. And so thank you. The world really needs you. We really need the momentum.
Thanks, Graham. That was awesome. Hopefully lots of people got some insights into what they can do, because there is a ton you can do, and it's worth it. I think really it's living consciously and making these decisions. The rewards are going to be there. It's going to feel good because we know we're making the right choices and moving in the right direction. And it really is. It's like it's being part of the solution and not the problem. And there's small steps, and sure, it's going to feel heavy at times, but if more of us join and you convince others, it's like Graham was talking about, it's that movement. And once it's a norm, then that's what you do.